Okay, before we get into this video, please subscribe, like this video, click the notification bell, and support me on Patreon if you want to make work like this possible, so that way I keep doing it, but you don't have to if you don't want to. So anyways, I was digging around some of the index numbers for the index number table for the prototype data for Gen 1, and I think I might have found something, and while this is still a theory, but I think it kind of actually makes sense when I think about it. So before I said one of the missing index numbers was 121, and we had no idea what it was. We just had no idea because there was no back sprite, there was no picture, there were no cries. It's just a missing no that is a placeholder, and that's basically it. You know, kind of like before with the missing no's before, you know, we didn't know what they were, we didn't even know who they were. Some people speculated there might have been other Pokemon, but there was no evidence. But now that the prototype data has been leaked, we know that yes, it was in fact prototype data for other Pokemon, and they were just deleted from the game because it would be kind of weird that even though you don't encounter them in the main game, why are they somewhere in the game's data still? So that was just a placeholder, right? So anyways, I was digging around Helix Chambers' little period table they made, and they specifically state that 121 index number is right next to Pendraken, which is 122. And Pendraken is a giant squid. Now, what's really interesting is Table 3 actually added evolutions, like a mid-tier evolution, a final evolution for Pokemon that already existed. And they're in order, believe it or not. Now, if you actually study that list, there's two Pokemon that are supposed to be right next to each other. Now, they took one Pokemon that I think it was called Blottle, which was basically the little squid. And then Pendraken would evolve into it somewhere, like I think it was on like level 40 maybe. I have to double check. But Pendraken is still 122 and Blottle is like 163 or something, or 63 in the index number. Somewhere, they're not next to each other. Somewhere in that area. So that leaves me to believe that I think maybe 121 as far as the index numbers go, it might have been a mid-tier evolution for those Pokemon. Now, what those Pokemon would have been like and what level it would have evolved at, I have no idea. It probably would have just been a water type, again, a giant squid rather in this case. But here's something else to think about, though. It's possible this could be wrong, but I'm just going to say fairness that it might still possibly be real because it's next to Pendraken, and that Pokemon is not Blottle. So if it's, you know, the two evolutions I discussed already, then yeah, it's possible it's a third evolution because it's right next to, it'd be the mid-tier evolution and then the next one. And then I think then Caterpie's family comes right after it, but they're all right next to each other. So, you know, that leads me to believe that, hey, maybe this isn't just a tier, maybe it could be another Pokemon, but maybe it's a second tier evolution because the third tier is right after it. So it kind of seems really interesting how organized this really is. But let's think about this for a second, though. Okay, if Blottle and Pendraken have been scrapped and we've never seen them, but they were brought back as two other Pokemon, though, possibly, and that was Inkay and Malamar, which Malamar is pretty good for competitive play. I'm thinking right now that if those two Pokemon were based on Blottle and Pendraken in this case, it's very possible that maybe the third evolution was scrapped, the second tier evolution was scrapped, because they probably just figured they don't really need it. You know, kind of makes sense. What else was I going to say? Oh, yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. Kind of like how every Pokemon gets scrapped every once in a while. You had like Pokemon like Gorochu, because keep in mind, when Gen 1 was created, this was the start of Pokemon. They just started writing a bunch of ideas down. They were saying that they wanted like every family in Pokemon to have at least 3 Pokemon to some degree. But then they started lowering to 2 in some cases. Like Gorochu, I believe, was scrapped for the fact that they wanted to make way for Pichu, and because Pikachu was the mascot, they wanted it to make him more cuter instead of coming off as... Now, maybe we might not have a big deal about this, but maybe there's some people in Japan that look at it like it might be a different story, you know. So maybe they decided they wanted their mascot's family had to be entirely adorable instead of, like, let's say, you know, it's a powerhouse of a nightmare. So that wouldn't surprise me at all. I'm thinking also that as far as Pokemon goes, that there could be other reasons too why it might have been the way it was. Maybe they just had, a bunch of ideas. They wrote them down. They didn't pass a popularity contest, so they weren't in the final version. They were just sitting in a notebook somewhere. Again, I do think that these data points can still be out there, but much like but if evidence is to be real, then then that just goes to show you that maybe 121 is a mid-tier evolution for, like, say, that, and then 135 is supposed to be like a pre-evolved form of like a baby Kangaskhan or something like that. It's possible. It could be something else, but just to kind of get us thinking, though, maybe, anything's possible. It seems like in the world of Pokemon and the world of technology as well, because it just seems like there's a lot of ideas that, while people, like, we might think about it realistically now, but until we have more evidence to really back up, like if we had like a back sprite or something, that would be completely, that'd be very relatable. It'd be very interesting. And it's just something to think about. But I'm making this video in the sense that I do think 121 has to be like some kind of a pre-evolution to like a water type, maybe a squid, because that just seems to be like its placement in the period table that it represents. So if I find any more information, I will let you know. But I actually found something else a while ago, and I'm still digging into it. I found a bunch of beta ROMs and under archive.com, if anybody's interested in it. And it's basically like, you might remember how, like, they stated before, like there was that one guy, there was those people that hacked Nintendo and they released all those games and all that, all those files, all the beta ROMs. They might be onto something in that file. There might be something in there that nobody's found yet, because again, there's so many files and not one person can really go through everything. So, it's possible there might be something in those games files that we might not know about. So far, we're still digging around for Gen 1 prototype data, but I can't find anything past Pokemon Green version. The Helix Chamber, if it wasn't for them, we really wouldn't have some of these leaked assets. Maybe it was one of them that hacked Nintendo that got it. I don't know, but whatever the case is, I do think that some of the evolutionary lines really do have a lot to do with one another, and possibly, because of its order and how organized the table is, it kind of seems like, hopefully the images that you're seeing, like somewhere in this video, it would kind of make sense. You could kind of look at it and say, oh, well, that makes a lot more sense than what it is now. So hopefully, we'll be able to do something with that. But like I said, if I find anything else, I'll mention it. But so far, it seems like I'm still running into some clues here. But I think I might be onto something, though, either way. So we're going to find something new, whether that's real or not. But if I find more data with those ROM dumpings a while ago, it might actually lead us to somewhere else, too. So how many other files we can possibly find and what details we might lead to. It actually goes to show you that maybe somebody can really recreate Gen 1 in their own way and what it might have been compared to what, like, the Helix Chamber tried to do. And because a lot of people don't understand this, but it really is true. Like, there's a lot of stuff on the internet, they talk about the prototype data, but there's still a lot of stuff that was leaked that most people don't know exists that is true, because it all came from Nintendo servers, believe it or not. So if that wasn't true, then all this wouldn't be true. But it is, though, except they redid some stuff, but like but everything else is legit, though, because it was from the servers of said Nintendo or Game Freak or whoever it had started, whatever, but they had to have a cover story so that way they wouldn't get sued at the time, so that was kind of the allegations they were possibly hoping to dodge, but they wanted to get this information so that way more people would know it exists. And I can see why, they would do that. So anyways, like I said, I'll keep looking. So far, I think the index numbers we're still missing are 182, 183, and 184, if that is the case. And those are the ones with the sprites for, like, the ghost, the fossil for the Marowak, the Aerodactyl fossil, and the Kabutops fossil. But the problem is, though, they don't seem to be in the prototype, though. So it's possible that they might be real Pokemon, but then later on they added those as like a placeholder for said Pokemon later on, So it's actually kind of something that believe it or not, there are a lot of rooms that were scrapped from the original game because they were referencing other Pokemon that shouldn't have existed at the time. You know, because again, keep in mind, Pokemon was based on Ultraman 7 and, you know, the old Tokyo Monster movie, and Godzilla and all that. So, you know, they make a lot of references to those kinds of games in Japan. And so it's interesting to think about. But like I said, if none of this stuff really surprises me, though. Some of the, you know, whatever we can find, we'll get our hands on. But hopefully it'll be soon, though.